This is the second part of the video for Math 96, Chapter 1 test review, and this is problem 2. There are two problems in this test review, two main problems. This is the second one. This is pertaining to storage tanks. It doesn't really say what they store. It's probably water, something like that. Storage tanks and their respective prices are listed in the table. So we've got these different sizes. There's looks like 8 gallons, 14, 20, 28, all the way up to 38 gallons. Not very big. And these are the prices associated with it, $25 down to $1.95. It says find the equation of the line of passing through these 2 points, the 825 and the 28,165, and show your work in the form of equations. So what I did was I went ahead and found the slope. This is the difference in the y's, this guy minus that guy on the top, and 8 minus 28 on the bottom. So I got a slope of 7. And then to put it in equation form, again, I'm using the form y is equal to mx plus b. That's the standard form. Y is equal to mx plus b. And I'm putting 7 in for m, so I have y is equal to 7x plus b. So my job now is to figure out what b is, and the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to pick one of these points, and I decided to pick the first one because the numbers are smaller, and I'm going to plug it into this equation. The 8 is going to go in for the x, the 25 is going to go in for the y, and there it is right there. And then I'm going to solve for b. So I smushed those two together, got 56, and then I subtract 56 from both sides, and I end up with b is equal to a negative 31. And because I know the slope now, and I know the y-intercept, I can rewrite this in slope-intercept form, and my equation is y is equal to 7x minus 31. On part B, it says use the graph and the trend line to estimate the cost of an 18-gallon tank. Give your answer in a complete sentence. So I'm supposed to use this. There's no math involved in this. This is a matter of you being able to read a graph. So here's the size of the tank in gallons, and I'm going to find 18. Well, here's 15, so 16, 17, and 18. So I'm right here. And I want to get a cost. So I'm going to come up here and hit that line and give an estimated cost. So I come up here, hit the line, come over to the left, and it looks like it's about 90. So my answer is the estimated cost of an 18-gallon tank is $90. On C, it says use the graph and the trend line, again, to estimate the size of a $130 tank. So instead of starting down here, hitting the line and coming over here, I'm going to do just the reverse. I'm going to start with the price, come over, hit the line, and drop down to see how many gallons. So I'm going to find $130. There's 100, 110, 120, 130. Come across the line, drop down, and it looks like it's about 25 gallons. Now, when you're reading these graphs, it may not always fall in a really, really sweet spot, and that's why we use the word estimated, because it could be $25.05 or 25 gallons and another tenth of a gallon, or it could be off just a little bit. So we just say that it's an estimated value. On D, it says choose 2 representative points from the trend line and find its equation. And just like in problem number 1, when I look at this trend line, I'm looking for sweet spots, not somewhere where where the equation or where the line is crossing the grid in some weird place. So what I found, the two sweet spots I found were 11 and 50, and that was right here. I really liked that one right there. And the other one that I liked was 33, 180. I like this one here. I'm just looking for two real nice spots. So those are my my 2 ordered pairs, and my job is to find the equation. So I'm going to use the slope formula, difference in the y's divided by difference in the x's, and I end up with this decimal. And I'm going to round it off to a couple of places. So I got 5.91 for my slope. And then to get the equation, I'm going to have to pick one of these ordered pairs. And remember, we always start out with this format. Y is equal to mx plus b. And I already know m. There it is. So I'm going to pick one of these guys to put in for x and y. And I picked the first one. I just like those numbers. So I put 11 in for x, and I put 50 in for y. And then it's a matter of solving for b. So I multiplied those guys and got that. Subtract 6501 from both sides. And I end up with b is equal to negative 15.01. So again, here's my general format. So my equation is y is equal to, and instead of mx, there's my m, and instead of plus b, I've got a negative 1501. So there's my equation. Okay, on E, it says use regression on your calculator to find an equation for the trend line and round it to 2 decimals. Well, I didn't take the time to re-enter the information in my equation, but it's basically the same as we did on problem number 1. You get the information in there under L1 and L2, and then go over to the stat. Let me turn this on to the stat, hit calc, hit 4, and enter all your stuff in there, and up is going to pop the equation that you're going to need for this problem. And this is what you end up with. We're rounding to 2 places, so this is what my A turned out to be, and this is what my B turned out to be. In a complete sentence, explain the meaning of the slope in context of the data. Well, I already knew, according to this graph, that it was increasing. Things are increasing as the size of the tank increases, the price increases. Well, that makes sense. So I said the price of a tank increases by $5.88 for each in size, for each, how about increase in size of 1 gallon. So if the size goes up by a gallon, the price is going up by $5.88. And you could say that in lots of different ways. You can probably say it a lot better than I did. In a complete sentence, explain the meaning of the y-intercept. The y-intercept. Well, the y-intercept is this guy right over here. And what they're saying is that according to this equation that we found from the calculator, if I were to extend this line, it's going to cross this y-axis down here. It doesn't look like it, but according to the equation, it's going to. And if you think about it, remember, this is money. If you think about it, well, how can the tank cost in the negative? It can't cost in if it costs in the negative, that means you're putting somebody's going to be giving you money rather than you giving them money. And if you think about it also, when we're looking at the y-intercept, x is 0. So the size of the tank is nothing. It holds nothing. And the reason we're not seeing it here is because this guy starts at 5. If it started at 0, you'd probably see why it's in the negative. So the bottom line is, I said, the y-intercept is a negative $14.06 for a tank that holds nothing. The y-intercept doesn't make sense for our application. And so you could address that just about any way that you like. But the whole point is this is not going to fly. On H, it says use your regression equation, again, the one out of the calculator, to estimate the price of a 45-gallon tank and answer in a complete sentence. Well, remember, X stands for the tank, Y stands for the price. So all I really have to do is take 45 and plug it in for my X and solve for Y. And I ended up with 250.54. So I'm saying that the estimated price for a 45-gallon tank is $250.54. Now, I could have probably dropped off that 54 and just said the estimated price is 250, and that would have been just as nice, maybe nicer. And finally, use your regression equation to predict the size of a tank that costs that much. So this time, instead of plugging a number in for X, I'm going to plug a number in for Y. Remember, Y represents the cost. So I put 350 in there, and everything over here stays the same. And then I'm going to add this to both sides to get rid of it. I end up with 364.06 is equal to 5.88x. And divide both sides by 5.88. And I get x is equal to 61.9149. And I rounded that to 62 just because you're not going to sell a tank that goes out in decimals, and actually you're probably not going to even sell a tank that's 62 gallons. It's probably in jumps of 10 gallons or 20 gallons or something like that, but that's pretty good. So my sentence answer is a tank that costs $350 has an estimated size of 62 gallons. And that's my story, and that's the end of the test review for Math 96, Chapter 1.